What are you doing?
Good evening. I'm Coulter Wonkite. I'm already into the 420. Damn it.
My bong.
What are you doing?
Does Pasha know we're going to be live?
Trying to get on this lifestyle
No, I
radio
didn't know
website.
he was
Sounds like a
involved in
cool
this
website.
tonight.
No, you can listen to it online.
You're listening to Lifestyle Radio.
The opinions expressed during this show are those of the individual participants
Okay,
and do not
that's fine.
necessarily
I'll send him a
reflect
message.
the opinions of their associated
And I'll send him a message
organizations
too,
or
but I'm-
Lifestyle
Okay, you
Radio.
send a message. I won't then.
Well,
You know I blame it on industry. I blame it on my own hypocrisy. Miseducation and politicians. No one's willing to step up and speak.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Pace Radio Show. We are live, and we are coming to you live from lifestyleradio.net and their sister station, 420radio.ca. I'm your host, Del Graham. Tonight on the program, I am joined by my joint host, Alicia Yashcheshen, and we have a guest for you tonight that has pounded the pavement, spoken to doctors, and is a patient who has helped other patients improve their quality of life. But before we do that, it's time for Alicia and I to have our usual chat. Hello, Alicia. How are you tonight?
Hey, Al. I'm great. How are you?
Good, good. I was listening on the news today that out there in Gander, Newfoundland, they're expecting about 30 centimeters of snow tonight. Are you going through a heat wave out there in Saskatchewan?
Yeah, don't talk about snow in our summer. We're skipping from spring right into summer, allegedly, here. So that's what the radio says.
I just had heard you guys were going through a heat wave out there. It was pretty warm.
Yeah.
Yay. Wow. Well, maybe you're going to...
Prime hemp growing season. Right?
Prime growing... Share the warmth with the rest of the country, will you?
Well, we're usually very cold here, so we're just going to be real selfish and keep it all to ourselves.
Okay, you hide that for a while. When it's too hot, send it on its way. And talking about hot things, I see we got a couple police officers in the news today.
Yeah, I really like that story.
Well, this is a bit of a follow up to one that was out earlier, where the police officers were involved in a raid at a dispensary, and about 24 hours later, they found them that they had consumed some of their evidence.
So, I guess, in all honesty, it's funny. Like, I'm kind of sad that they charged them.
Really?
But it kind of goes to show, like, their curiosity. Because don't forget, like, a lot of, like, men and women, like, in blue, they do what they do because they're told to do it, because their livelihood depends on it, right? And so when they go into these raids, et cetera, it's not like they hate pot smokers. It's because that's what they're paid with our tax dollars to do.
Well, I realize they're upholding the law, but they're also putting a lot of people through a lot of problems too. And now they've gone and breached the trust.
Well, what trust was there? I think it's funny because at the end of the day, like, if they went and took a bottle of booze and got pissed, we wouldn't have even heard about it, right? But because of marijuana, but I guess in the story too, the one other officer who was responding to the call had, like, fell and hit his head. Like, that's problematic.
He was injured.
I mean, was it to try and, like, make some kind of a dangerous point about marijuana when it backfired? I don't know. Like, I don't know.
Well, they could turn around and say, well, our police officers say that you hallucinate when you use too many edibles. You climb trees. You climb trees when you eat edibles.
Like,
so
I think, like I said,
go ahead.
Like, come on, it's pretty ballsy for, like, a police officer to go and take some edibles. Like, they could have contained anything. So that was pretty ballsy in the first place. But, you know, like, to go to the extent of, like, I wonder how much they took. You know,
well,
like...
They ate enough to climb trees and say they've been hallucinating, so... And I guess they've been alleged to have attempted to obstruct, pervert, or defeat the course of justice by destroying or converting their own use and evidence. Is what they were charged last Tuesday.
Or is it some big mirage to, like, send a message to, like, police officers who actually want to use cannabis recreationally, like, you're going to get in trouble? Like, I think that if there's, like, a misconstrued reason for that story, like, perhaps they didn't even. I don't know. Like, what would possess you to do that, right? It's like someone who's uphold the law, but I think it's immensely, like, it's funny. Like,
there's funny, but there's also a serious side to it all, too.
Oh, for sure. Like,
yeah.
The fact that they would go and do that, but then the thing is are they trying to mock the cannabis community by doing that? And if they did, like, it's just so funny, it's ridiculous, right?
Well, I don't know. We're going to find out how, you know, whether this gets buried in the news or not, because they go to court on June the 7th, which is also the same day as the Ontario election, and it's also the same day that the Senate votes on cannabis legalization. So I would think that their stuff's going to be probably buried in the news next time they appear in court.
Like, I just wonder if it was just, like, a publicity stunt, like, by a police service, or was it just, like, you know, like, one was, like, a 13-year, like, cop, and one was, like, on the force for, like, 2.5 years. Like,
right.
But in the same regard, maybe they were just curious. Maybe they're like, hey, you know, like, I don't know. But I think it almost sounds far-fetched to be, like, climbing in trees and, like, you know what I mean? Like, because, like, who the hell else would do that? You know what I mean? So it's like, is that just a made-up story? Like,
well, I don't know. They say it was serious. You know, one guy went to hospital, got injured, right? So, but now talking about something serious, I see Saskatchewan's in the news again. Something about taxes. Want some more of your money?
No surprise.
What's that? Another 7% tax added onto the wholesale price of cannabis.
Well, good luck is all I have to say. Is I'm just going to stand by and watch as they self-destruct. Meanwhile, like, totally excluding the pioneers and their opinions and their advice. And yeah, who's going to
Well, could they not still be adding this tax to what they call that, the micro producers, the micro cultivators? They still add tax to them, could they not? Which they're labeling as the craft industry.
I think that the whole taxation of it, there's a fine line between predatory government grabbing and then contributing to society. And so, like, in Colorado, it's very expensive to smoke and consume cannabis. So is that the climate that they're going to create here?
Yeah, well, some of the documentaries I've seen, it's like $25 for a gram. But you see some reports in some of the states where it's like $2.50 because there's just so much of it. So it just probably depends on what state you're in.
For sure, but I think that always the regulated tax system is always going to have those, like, downfalls, because then, I mean, like, in Saskatchewan, they were purporting that they weren't going to give the taxpayers a number as to what they were estimating that they would collect in terms of tax revenue because of cannabis before. So now they're purporting this 7% tax, but where is it going to go? Was it mentioned?
Where it's going to be applied? No, it's probably just going to go in. It's just going to go into your slush fund. It doesn't say anything where it's going to be used as a benefit in order to pay for schooling or pay for health care or anything. No. It just says that.
I was recently at like a public, like, old folks place, and, like, oh my God, how embarrassing to say that that's, like, how we take care of, like, elderly people in their, like, fragile ending years of life. Like, I'm embarrassed. Like, the province of Tommy Douglas, like, holy cow. And then you want to talk about taxing marijuana. Well, where is all of our money going, if not into the things that we fundamentally value in this province?
It's going to law enforcement. Now, as far as your 7% tax, where they came up with that was because they're trying to have a similar price all the way across the country, and that 7% helps them reach that. So it's not something that sounds like they're doing because they have plans for it. They're doing it because it equals out the pricing across the country.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, that's what it looks like. Interesting. All right. What do you say? We move on?
Yeah, because politics in Canada just get me all fired up because it's just illogical to discuss the two in one sentence. Oh.
Yeah, I know you are. Okay. Well, at this time, I'd like to welcome the person who I described who has pounded the pavement, spoke to doctors, and has been helping patients improve their quality of life for quite some time. We'd like to welcome Erin Malougney to the Pace Radio Show. Hello, Erin. How are you?
Hello, everyone. I'm great. Thank you for having me on the show tonight.
Hey, we appreciate you coming on, talking to us tonight. We always like to share patient stories, things they've been doing, how they've been helping others, and we always give them a spot to help their voices be raised.
Well, we're living in interesting times right now, whatever province you're in.
Oh, yeah.
Rules almost on Monday, so to speak, and good luck, Ontario. Which is where I'm located. So let's all cry in our
Everyone needs some luck around here.
I've seen some interesting videos of people expressing how they feel about how it will be in Ontario soon, and they're funny but sad.
Yes, they are, because we got the Liberal plan coming up here, which everybody knows about. We got Doug for the PCs, who's flip-flopped, and basically he said the system that the Liberals going to be is going to be what he's going to propose for the time being. And then we got the NDP, and I can't find their policy anywhere on their platform. But they've always been favorable for it.
Prohibition.
So. Yeah, so what do we do?
And we're the highest user of cannabis. We have the highest rates of use due to our populace, and as I understand it, statistically, we use more cannabis in Ontario, and we're going to have the fewest locations to get it at.
Yeah, that sounds like a policy of a program that's going to be defeated more than anything.
Let's hope.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I always let Alicia get the first question in. I realize you guys are just meeting for the first time,
and really I know
Alicia always has that first question she likes to dig out, and we'll go from there.
Sounds good.
All right, Alicia, throw it at her.
All righty. Okay. So welcome. Thanks for coming on. We really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
No worries. So I guess my first question for most of our guests is take us to your very first experience with cannabis and how cannabis came into your life.
My experience was quite phenomenal. I was unknowingly a medical patient already.
Oh.
It was presented to me recreationally at a young age of 13. But I had already broken my back for the first time. So what happened was, under a willow tree, some girlfriends and I inhaled deeply.
Nice.
And I proceeded to walk the furthest without being subjected to major pain. And having to stop and massage my legs from the pain due to a spinal cord injury. And one of the girls pointed it out to me after inhaling deeply, that you've walked the longest you've walked since your accident. I was in a car accident, which was what caused my spinal cord injury. And I looked back and realized she was right. And as they played with something they found on the side of the road, like a shopping cart they all played with, I had what's called an aha moment. But it was way before Oprah.
Where did you get the pot at that time?
One of my girlfriends in middle school, their brother in high school was a dealer, so to speak.
Yeah.
And she had access to maybe one joint that we all split, and I had the first experience of cannabis as medicine.
Mm.
And I was absolutely blown away at its massive pain-killing powers.
So then so after that, like, how did your life change, or like, did it, like, what did
I
it
was
do?
going to the parties in high school after middle school. High school happens, and I was the one at the party with a non-alcoholic beverage and some weed, man. Instead of getting inebriated with alcohol, I found myself using my money to purchase cannabis because its effects were much better on me. And unbeknownst to me, still, it was medical. But I now know that I didn't have a problem with cannabis. Smoking it on your own is hard to justify when people say drinking on your own is bad. But over the years, I got over that because it was alleviating so much of my intractable, constant pain from spinal cord injury. So I didn't feel too bad, and when the medical program started in Canada, I broke my back for the second time. So I was in like Flint. I just had to get the doctors to sign off, and I became a medical patient advocate, knowing what I knew for so many years.
So take me back to the second, back injury. Was that another car accident?
Unfortunately, yes. I was on a bike and the car kind of came into me. So technically we're both motor vehicles. But it would have been minor to most people, but because my back was already injured, it was a little bit more major for me. So that's okay. What does not kill us makes us stronger.
Oh, for sure.
True.
And because of the knowledge.
Oh, I was going to say, so then you had approached your doctor
I did,
about using medicine?
I had to pursue her for a year, unfortunately.
What?
I did have to pursue her for about a year. Because it was back in 2002, before any research or doctors were actually, nowadays they can recommend it as a part of the treatment plan, whereas back then they plugged their ears and told you to leave the office.
Now, Erin, back then in 2002, how many years had you been using medicinal cannabis without, being legal?
Well, that was 20 years already.
Yeah, but yeah, exactly, because you're like, younger than you're 13 or whatever. Before you were 13, you had the accident. So, like, would they not have noticed, like, what's Erin using for painkiller?
Well, they prescribed them. This is an interesting thing. I don't know if it still occurs, but when I was a minor child after the first accident, they handed them out like candy. I was on 2 of the top 10 most addictive drugs.
Wow.
And the refills back then. Do you remember when before you had to go to your doctor every time for a refill? You got this thing called a refill checkbox, and they would check how many refills you could have. They just checked the refill boxes and refilled them They knew that I was going to be in pain and anxious and depressed for the rest of my days. They just handed them out like candy.
Wow.
Valium and diazepam and a lot of the other codeine-driven drugs.
But they're all out of your life now?
Were you addicted?
I gave up on pharmaceuticals in 2009, and cannabis has been my only go-to, save for the few, aspirin or ibuprofen for bad days. But cannabis is my go-to since 2009.
Kudos.
Well, thank you. It was a big decision I had to make.
And that was probably not a cakewalk getting off that like whole list of.
Well, I had removed most of the antidepressants and so forth, but what really got me, being a cannabis crusader, an advocate like yourself, like Al, talking to other people, understanding their struggles and triumphs thanks to cannabis, I realize now that I made a decision to stop taking the nasty, mind-altering drugs earlier because I wanted to be sober enough to drive as a teenager. And my introduction to cannabis coincided with that decision. And to be quite frank, in my mind, in my history, as I remember it, I unknowingly got off those drugs thanks to cannabis. Because cannabis came into my life just as those drugs were becoming overpowering. And I had to make a decision for my safety and the safety of others as I was going to be a young driver. Yeah. And I thank all the people like myself, like you, Alicia, like Al and Al, all of our friends and fellow patients who've come forward with their stories so that I can glean and learn and realize, hey, wait a minute, that sounds familiar. I guess I did that too. And we have to scream from the highest mountains right now that cannabis can help with addiction. Right now.
Oh, big time.
And I'm kind of a little case study, even though there's no reports necessarily. But I myself am grateful for the powers of cannabis, not just for their pain relieving, but for their addiction suppressing help as well.
Oh, for sure, because I know for myself that was my only saving grace when I was withdrawing from those nasty pills was cannabis, and I don't know if I could have done that without it.
I think I can hear you there, definitely.
So, Erin, with your spinal injury, were you hospitalized for extended period of time?
Oh, sure. Yep, I was in there for a while. Back in and out of sick kids at the time. And then I also was admitted to a rehabilitation hospital to learn to deal with my disabilities that come with some things come with spinal cord injury that people don't anticipate or know about. Lots of internal problems that can occur. So they had me in and out of hospital. I think, yeah, bowel and bladder problems can be a problem if you injure your spine in a certain area. I'm very, very lucky. But things happened that you had to just learn how to deal with. So I was in and out of hospital for about a year in total. Yeah. But I'm very, very lucky and thankful. I had surgical... Oh, sorry, go on.
Oh, no, go ahead. Finish what you're saying.
Yeah, I had surgical rods placed in my spine at that time. That was the standard for stabilizing that kind of injury. And then because I was young and continued to grow, I had to have them removed. So I don't ding off at the airport, which is kind of convenient. But, nowadays there's better beneficial procedures to happen. But when you have it happen in the 80s, you get what you get in the 80s. I'm very thankful, as mentioned, for all the.
And so, in terms of because it was in a motor vehicle, please don't tell me that you had to struggle with insurance.
Well, because I was a minor child for the first one. I was an adult for the second one. My dad was my advocate in court. Thank goodness. As a child, you have some protections so that someone can be appointed for you to take care of that matter. It was difficult, but he did a great job. It was very difficult. There was other people in the car, and because of the laws here in Canada, we're protected generally, But if someone doesn't have enough insurance, you really have to to know your stuff. And I'm very grateful that my father hired good lawyers and took the time to take it seriously. And it was tough. It was very.
Well, I could just
having to do an affidavit was difficult at a young age, but it wasn't as bad as my friend who was in the car also at the same time with me. She was medicated beyond belief, high as a kite on morphine when she did her affidavit and barely remembers it. That's not legal. But as a minor child, things go astray. Kids don't have rights.
Because you're considered intoxicated, you're stoned, you're not of sound mind in order to...
Yes, you couldn't bring that forward. They weren't smart enough to notice. It should have been handled better, but that was back then, and hopefully now things are different. But she doesn't remember her affidavit at all because she was really drugged out.
Yeah.
So those are then. Hopefully now things are different, but they don't hand them out like candy, I hope, anymore. Those drugs that I got refill after refill.
Yeah.
Yeah, geez, what are we talking about? Opiate epidemic here, North American wide. Yeah, it sounds like they're still handing them out.
Yeah. Well, I've been watching the history on that interesting topic with Purdue, the company, the doctors, the influence that they were shown. It was a dance of the devil.
Yeah.
It was a business plan gone mad. And unfortunately, a lot of people are suffering from the greed of the corporations that put them forward and the doctors that did the dance to go to Hawaii back in the day.
Yeah.
And that should be illegal. You want to talk about like crimes against humanity? That should be illegal. They should be raiding and busting pharmacies and doctors who overprescribe and kill thousands and thousands of people, and nothing is done to them.
Exactly.
Alrighty, it's break time.
Ooh.
Time to go for a break. And our listeners know that I usually like to try to line up the song with something to do with our guest. And tonight I have done that. We haven't discussed it yet, but we will before the show is over. Ooh. So tonight our bumper music features is from a band called The Hicks and their song, Mr. Bong. When we return, we'll continue our talk with our guest, Erin Malougney. This is the Face Radio Show. We are live on lifestyleradio.net.
It's from the Bong.
Hey, this is Cheech. And this is Chong. And you're listening to Lifestyle Radio. What is it? Lifestyle Radio. Say it one more time. 420 Radio? Ooh.
Hang up and try again.
You're listening to Lifestyle Radio.
Oh, yeah. I roll 'em big, I roll 'em fat. I roll 'em like a baseball bat. I roll 'em large, I roll 'em tight. The joints I roll are dynamite. And I think you get my point. That's why they call me Mr. Jones.
Canada, the time to act is now. These days, your customers are seeking variety. Increase your earning potential by expanding your inventory with CC Nexus, Canada's largest cannabis seed wholesaler. CC Nexus stocks over 60 reputable breeders, including Canuck Seeds, with a wealth of autoflower, regular, feminized, and CBD strains. All first-time customers will receive a free pack of Canuck Seeds, plus a mug, t-shirt, and additional promotional materials. Add strains and increase your profit with CC Nexus, your Canadian-owned and operated wholesaler of cannabis seeds. Discreet, worldwide stealth shipping from Canada, supporting you locally. Call today, 1-844-843-7995, 1-844-843-7995, or visit us at ccnexus.global.
Are you looking for cannabis news, education, and people's opinions? Are you looking to learn what Canadian and international cannabis advocates are doing, not only now, but what got them to this point in their lives, and what does the future hold for them? Do you want to learn how patients are using cannabis as their daily medication, or learn how their cannabis use helps them with their medical condition? If you answered yes to any of these questions, then I'm going to suggest to you to tune in to Lifestyle Radio. Catch their live weekly shows and have your questions and concerns answered and find the experience you're looking for. Monday, catch your weekly news broadcast with the Reef Reporters. Then on Wednesday, get several hours worth of cannabis public education. We get things started with cannabis and coffee with Tamarawana. Then tune in and catch Pottawa with Russell Barth, who calls himself the world's angriest pothead. Finish up your evening with the award-winning Pace Radio Show with Al Graham and joint host Kim Cooper and Alicia Yashcheshen. No week would be complete without tuning into Friday night's program, the 420 Radio Show, featuring Al Rapp and the 420 Radio crew, Mary Jane Baker and Marcel Gagnac. Cannabis is a lifestyle, and you can catch all your cannabis lifestyle information right here at lifestyleradio.net or at our sister site, 420radio.ca.
The following is a public service announcement from the Canadian Therapeutic Cannabis Partners Society. The Canadian Therapeutic Cannabis Partners Society is a non-profit organization dedicated to ensuring improved access to therapeutic cannabis and cannabis byproducts in Canada. With a federal government that has committed to legalizing cannabis, we feel it is our duty to ensure that the medicinal use of cannabis doesn't get lost in the process and that there are clear distinctions made between the medicinal and recreational use of cannabis. It is our mission to ensure that government regulation doesn't get in the way of a sick, disabled, or terminally ill person's right to use or produce this amazing natural health product. If you would like to get involved, you can contact us on the internet. www.canadiantherapeuticCannabisPartners.com, on Facebook, CTCP Society, or search Canadian Therapeutic Cannabis Partners.
CTCP now operates a medicinal cannabis signing clinic. If you want to grow your own medicinal cannabis and are located anywhere in Canada, then I'd like to suggest that you give them a call. They can be reached at 1-613-967-9888. That's 1-613-967-9888, and grow on with CTCP.
Man, have you been to Canadays yet? Canadays, Campbellford's premier cannabis culture shop at 19 Bridge Street West. They've got bongs, oil rigs, grinders, and papers. Everything you need for consumption. They've got seeds, soil, nutrients, and dome trays too. Everything you need for cultivation. Get top quality seeds from top suppliers like Canuck and wholesaler Nexus. Canadays. They've got all kinds of awesome cannabis novelties, clothing, and apparel. I know, right? It's a lot more than just a bong shop. Interested in gaining legal access? Canadays can help. They're a PACE information center. You know, people advocating cannabis education. Come by the shop and check it out. 19 Bridge Street West, Campbellford. Canadays. Have your say without saying a word. Canadays.ca.
I bought a bong from Tommy Chong, and I packed the bowl all night long. I packed the bowl and sing my song. That's why they call me Mr. Bong. That's right.
Hello, we're back, and we are the Pace Radio Show. We are live here at lifestyleradio.net. You can also find us at Spreaker, TuneIn Radio, as well as at iTunes. Tonight on the program, we're joined by our guest, Erin Malougney, and our joint host, Alicia Yashcheshen. Okay, ladies, before the break, we're talking about why Erin uses cannabis to deal with the broken back from a couple of accidents. One as a child, one as an adult. Erin, the song we had during the break was called Mr. Bong. my question to you, what is your favorite way to medicate?
Well, gee, my delivery method of choice is hits from the bong. It's a crazy thing because a joint should do, you'd think, but I find the intense power of a small, tiny hit from the bong will alleviate my pain instantaneously for half an hour, maybe 45 minutes.
And you have a bong that is, not any, I guess that would be any ordinary bong, but it seems to be quite famous.
It is. They have a website, Vegabong.com. It's one of my favorite traveling devices. I take it with me wherever I go. And it's got a handle, mason jar with a handle on it that many people have slung a beer or a Mai Tai out of. And next thing you know, their device fits on top of that, smacks on down, and gives you a chamber and a mouthpiece and a small burning unit that makes your bong quick and easy wherever you want. You can put it in your purse. You can set it down. It won't tip over. And my goodness, you can get them in fanciful colors. So I really like my Vegabong that I take along with me everywhere I go.
Now, when you set that down, does it become a piece that creates conversation?
It has created a lot of conversations when I'm in Jamaica because I can carry it with me wherever I want to go there openly. But here in Canada, very few people see it with me wherever I go. It's only in my home and I'm hiding usually when I utilize it because we're still at that level where even as a medical patient, I have to go next to a dumpster where no one can see me to inhale deeply. And because that's my method.
Hey, how come in Jamaica you can walk around with your bong?
It's a decriminalized nation. And when you are in Jamaica, you can see a lot of people already accessing marijuana, cannabis at all times. It's a commonplace thing in most cities and most areas to see young men and women doing the hand crumble, where they're cutting up their little buds in their hands with their fingers and wrapping it up in a joint to smoke. It still has some stigma there, don't get me wrong, but it's less stigmatized there. And since the decriminalization in 2015 in that nation, people can do it anywhere, and they do.
Now, that decriminalization, that allows a patient to carry X amount?
Correct. And it alleviates a lot of the criminal laws, the penalties for citizens also utilizing or growing. They allow 4 plants per household, no problem, to say in Jamaican.
That's
and
so nice.
They allow it's more accepted now as a cultural right, as a way of life, as a non-threatening recreational. So even driving with a joint is kind of okay over there. As strange as it sounds, but because the nation is used to it as something that people utilize recreationally, religiously, medically, it's kind of more accepted.
So how do the police there treat cannabis? Is there still arrests for it or not so much?
Not so much.
Oh, good.
Not much. I'm hoping not so much. I mean, there's a lot of corruption there where a police officer will expect payment for leniency. Yeah. Let's face facts. That happens a lot of places. But I don't want to belittle it. I don't want to make it sound like a free-for-all. But with respect and honesty, I think they appreciate people more with cannabis than with alcohol in any country.
So you don't see the fear mongering down there that you see here?
That's correct. And I don't want to make it sound like it's picture perfect and everyone accepts it. There is still stigma.
Yeah.
There are people in Jamaica who are opposed to the use of cannabis, whether it be recreational. I think they've become more lenient on medical. But For example, young mothers with small children are sometimes stigmatized, even though we know that they could probably use it the most. They need the stress relief. They need to be creative and calm and patient. So, and of course, that's something that I've learned. So it's not exactly 100% accepted all across the board, but you do get more. I do get a bit more respect as just some foreign tourist. Instead of just being some foreign tourist, I'm someone who appreciates Jamaica because they understand ganja. So it has.
You've got a family connection, do you not?
In Jamaica?
Yeah, like something from years ago.
Not really a family connection, just a love for Jamaica since I was young.
Oh, okay. I was thinking about a book.
Oh, that's our family friend. Yeah.
Okay,
friend.
all right. That's the family connection then. Family friend.
Yeah. And it's a great book in praise of Jamaica. But the love that I feel for that country started when I was young. My first trip there, I was 12, really lucky. And what happens is you see a beautiful people with great potential in that beautiful country where it's just so joyous sometimes. And they look on the bright side a lot more than others, it would seem. So I really appreciate that nation. And now that they've got some movement in an area where they've been formerly ridiculed and persecuted for, now they're becoming world leaders in ganja research, in medical papers, etc. And hopefully they will come out of a lot of their financial struggles thanks to ganja in Jamaica. We can be hopeful, right?
That's right.
Exporting it, make great deals with other companies. It will bring up the people, hopefully, so that they can be proud and make some money.
Create employment for But I would think they would be sort of the same thing as what we're going through here in Canada, where we have one side that is supportive of companies coming in, whereas you got the advocates that are against that. I would think that they would sort of have the same thing where they've got their ganja farmers have been doing it for years would probably be against.
Absolutely, very similar, because we're not discounting the fact that corporations come in, laws, regulations, permits, licenses. It can squash the craft here, as we call them, growers, or they can squash the bushmen, as they're called in Jamaica. The people who've been using the land for a little bit of ganja to make their way through the world easier are going to be squashed because maybe the big companies will say, well, you can't grow anymore. You don't have a license. Just like here.
That's not okay.
No, it's not. So there's going to be a lot of uprising in that regard because, as we know, sometimes corporations do get their way. And unfortunately, you have to be prepared to stand up for what you believe. So that's happening over there right now with a lot of ganja associations and, discussions and laws being created and hopefully associations and co-ops being built. Just like here.
Just like here. Yeah, it sounds similar.
Yeah.
So I would assume that the weather in Jamaica is going to be better for the back.
It can be, but it rained for 2 weeks. Oh my gosh! So nobody likes rain when they have that back pain. Woo! But the heat is definitely, I think, better than the winter. Not to mention the slipping and falling possibility. It's not so, I don't want to slip and fall anymore. And streets of Toronto sometimes are not cleared. Be nice, clear your ice. But no.
That's right. Yes. Yeah, they're clearing ice out in Gander, Newfoundland this weekend.
Oh, will it ever end?
No. So, I imagine Alicia would probably be interested in what brings you to Jamaica every year.
I'm currently experiencing snowbirdism. I'm loving that for my own health purposes. I met a great guy, so that helps. And we've set up a little place that is currently available on the Airbnb world because, we're all in a sharing economy now. So
I like that.
Yeah, it's an interesting stopover spot. It's different than most. It's not on the ocean, but it's very close. And what it is it's a nice, serene, green, clean place to rest your head and smoke some great ganja.
Now,
okay, when you go there, where do you get your ganja from?
Well, we're growing our own.
Ooh.
We have other connections when we weren't growing our own, so we went across the country, and I've been to the heart of Jamaica to pick up some excellent, beautiful, naturally grown ganja.
Now, now when you grow ganja down there outside, I'm assuming your lighting is different because I don't think you're on daylight savings time. So, like,
it's different because in any country in that area between, I think, closer to the equator, but the Tropic of Capricorn Cancer, in that area, you obviously have different sunshine hitting the earth at that angle, creating a basic 12 and 12 environment, 12 hours of sunshine, 12 hours of nighttime, constantly.
Wow.
So that creates the flower environment. And that's why cannabis will be grown in other countries when the laws do change and the stigma is removed and the businesses do take over. They are going to know that it's going to be cheaper to grow where they don't have to heat the building half the year. And they can just stick it outside in a field and everything will be fine.
Yeah, because it automatically go into bloom.
They really do. So you have to have a good strain that's going to grow some height to give you some yield. And you think about employing some of your different growing techniques that we've learned through great champions like Ed Rosenthal, etc., who's taught us through books to trim and fim and lollipop, where you do want to maybe manipulate some of your plants to maximize with hormones and growth patterns some of your yields. So it's a learning curve there because I've been in a nice home environment in my previous medical cannabis world here in Canada. I grew my own. Mm-hmm. So you learn how to do that in a nice, prim and proper, pristine little environment where you have everything turn on and off with a timer exactly. But when you go somewhere else where it's a different world and a different climate and literally different resources, you learn to just let it grow. And if you're in a 12 and 12 lighting environment, you know that you're going to be flowering soon. So you just keep an eye on it and watch it grow. It's very fun to sit by.
Now, as far as the bed and breakfast end, it's Airbnb, so people can get a hold of you that way. What will they see when they come to your place, I guess is...
Well, it's not on the ocean, but it's extremely close to the ocean. So because of that, it doesn't have necessarily that salty feel in the air. But we have a beautiful breeze on the acre property, which has got a really nice old bungalow home and gardens secure. It's got 4 bedrooms, big kitchen. It's kind of a home.
Is cannabis the only thing that grows there?
Oh, no. We have many, many vegetables and natural fruit trees that occur on the property that feed us all year round that are really all natural. Like, there's no pesticides put in. And what happens is we've done such things as corn, okra, which is a different vegetable in Jamaica, bok chow, peanuts. I've grown peanuts. Those are really fun to put in a porridge in the morning to give you lots of energy and a delicious...
Peanuts in your porridge?
Oh, yes. Peanuts, almonds, bananas, okra, all kinds of things in your porridge to make you go, go, go. And we also have had many different things growing, including carrots and cucumber. Oops, I said it Jamaican. We're trying to do broccoli, ganja. Oh, yeah, I told you about the ganja. So it's a prosperous place, and when things fall from the tree and feed you, you know that you're in the right spot, because you're really lucky when you have an ackee tree or a kneesberry tree in Jamaica, because those things can fill you up, can be made into great smoothies. It's very natural and wondrous to eat straight from the earth.
Nice. Natural food, straight out of the garden, right off the tree, and on your plate.
Yes.
Wow.
Can't get much healthier than that, can you, Alicia? Because Alicia's, she's like me. She deals with food issues.
Yeah.
So how about like the coconut there? I really quite appreciate the coconut. They do like coconuts there, right?
Oh, they're everywhere. Sure, you can pluck them from the trees and drink them.
Oh,
you can cut them to take out all the meat proper, and then turn it into a chalice. Turn them into a bong. Yep, it's true.
I've seen the pictures.
Yeah. Cool.
So actually,
yeah.
Natural fruit bongs, eh? That's not what your Vegabong is, though, right?
Sorry, that's something. Sorry about that.
So I guess in terms of like cooking with cannabis, how do they do it in Jamaica? Is that like a thing, like hash cakes or something?
Well, it's kind of interesting to see how accepted it is, but also the different ways that they just put it in a pot and cook it up. So cannabis tea is accepted more. Here it's for the elite, for the well-versed cannabis connoisseur. But over in Jamaica, it's more readily used by, let's say, the senior populace to put it just in a cup of tea. They don't want to smoke it. They don't want to be grinding it up in their hand like their 17-year-old or 22-year-old grandson. But they will use it because they know it has excellent properties for their health needs.
Yeah. Well, Erin, as you would know, you helped us out in the past with the Treating Yourself shows when we were doing the women's show and stuff like that. We would get people that were from Jamaica or from the Caribbean that would tell us that when they were a child, that mom gave them a tea in order to help them feel better.
Or even for their little cough, even just a little tiny bit of the rum infused with the ganja that's been sitting under the bed for months in that cool, dark place as we know it. They would use that to help with their croup or their cough, or to put them to sleep when they were tossing and turning.
Mm-hmm.
So, and one of the most fantastic things I learned when visiting Jamaica as an adult, being an open cannabis user and talking about it like I do, like we do, because we know what we believe. Some young people that worked at the place I was staying came up to me and said, we take the ash and we put it on our face for the pimples.
Huh? Really?
And I was fascinated that I was honored that they shared with me, but I was also fascinated at the fact that it's got dermatological, if that's the word, that it's got benefits. Of course, it's antibacterial, microbial. And I was fascinated that that's one of the methods they use for their zits.
I don't know. I've never heard of that. Have you, Alicia?
No.
No. I never heard of that before.
Yeah.
You know anybody we can try that out on?
Yeah, I got one on my chin.
Gee, you go back 40 years.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Now, before we go on, we got about 2-3 minutes before we go to a commercial break. 2 minutes. I don't really want to change the topic too much before we get into something new after the break. Let's see. Ganja's popular down there, obviously in Jamaica. What about concentrates? Because I know Alicia, you're a concentrate person.
Oh, I love my shatter.
So, do you have a dab machine in your home? And Or are you using a vaporizer, may I ask?
I just use my Shatterizer.
Oh, yes, of course. Everyone's talking about the Shatterizer. I do apologize. I'm trying to get my head around how concentrates are utilized by the average everyday user. Because I've seen, the party and the cups where, people are dabbing. But I wondered if it had an easier home method. I should not be trusted sometimes with a blowtorch.
Oh no! See, that's why you need the Shatterizer. Like, I couldn't be bothered with that for the longest time, but you know what? I went ahead and got this like wannabe Shatterizer vape, and I started using Shatter, good quality Pioneer extract shatter, and it changed my life. Like, my body pain from all my car accidents significantly impacted because of the use of my Shatterizer.
Wow! I'm gonna have to do a test drive. Definitely.
Yeah. Like, I noticed in body pain, them combined is just perfect.
Well, I'm experiencing more over the time and the age and the so forth and so on. So we'll always have to review our delivery methods and our drugs of choice for our pain.
I will tell you what, Erin, I will bring mine with me this weekend.
Oh, okay.
Yes, we are getting. We are going to be seeing each other this weekend, so you can take mine out for a test flight.
Oh, thank you.
All righty, ladies. It's already second break.
Wow. Shatterizer time.
Okay, it's time to hear some more from the Hicks and their song Mr. Bong, because, as you heard, our guest loves her bong. And then we'll continue our conversation with our guest, Erin Malougney. You're listening to the Pace Radio Show. We are live here at lifestyleradio.net.
So what are you doing? Nothing? Why not? I'm trying to get on this Lifestyle Radio website. Sounds like a cool website. Yeah, it's alright. Oh, wait, I might have it. You might have it.
You're listening to Lifestyle Radio.
Man, have you been to Canadays yet? Canadays, Campbellford's premier cannabis culture shop at 19 Bridge Street West. They've got bongs, oil rigs, grinders, and papers. Everything you need for consumption. They've got seeds, soil, nutrients, and dome trays too. Everything you need for cultivation. Get top quality seeds from top suppliers like Canuck and wholesaler Nexus. Canadays. They've got all kinds of awesome cannabis novelties, clothing, and apparel. I know, right? It's a lot more than just a bong shop. Interested in gaining legal access? Canadays can help. They're a PACE information center. You know, people advocating cannabis education. Come by the shop and check it out. 19 Bridge Street West, Campbellford. Canadays. Have your say without saying a word. Canadays.ca.
Hi, this is Al Graham of the Pace Radio Show. Are you keeping pace, as in keeping people advocating cannabis education? If you're not, and you're a cannabis consumer, then why not? Others are working hard every day to help educate people about cannabis so you can enjoy your daily 420. Get involved and speak out. Be loud and proud so that you can keep pace. Tune into the Pace Radio Show every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to hear about people advocating cannabis education here on lifestyleradio.ca.
In 2017, the Canadian government announced that although recreational cannabis would be federally legal, its distribution and sale would be determined by individual provinces. Later that fall, the province of Ontario announced its proposed legal framework, that a subsidiary of the LCBO be the sole proprietor of cannabis in our province, essentially creating a one-party monopoly. This government-controlled monopoly could result in longer wait times, supply issues, and insufficient experience due to lack of proper consultation with the pre-existing industry. The provincial government believes this framework will restrict access to children and help eliminate the black market, but this proposed action will only push illicit suppliers further underground. Meanwhile, over the past 2 decades, there's been a growing industry of intelligent, savvy, and responsible cannabis entrepreneurs who have been working hard to provide access and education around the medicinal, therapeutic, and recreational uses of cannabis. We are Sensible Ontario. We're not new, but we're excited to meet you. Visit our website now and donate to become a part of Making Sense.
If you'd like to learn more about Sensible Ontario, go to sensibleontario.ca.
Canada, the time to act is now. These days, your customers are seeking variety. Increase your earning potential by expanding your inventory with CC Nexus, Canada's largest cannabis seed wholesaler. CC Nexus stocks over 60 reputable breeders, including Canuck seeds, with a wealth of autoflower, regular, feminized, and CBD strains. All first-time customers will receive a free pack of Canuck seeds, plus a mug, t-shirt, and additional promotional materials. Add strains and increase your profit with CC Nexus, your Canadian-owned and operated wholesaler of cannabis seeds. Discreet, worldwide stealth shipping from Canada, supporting you locally. Call today, 1-844-843-7995, 1-844-843-7995, or visit us at ccnexus.global.
Hey, we're back. Thanks for tuning in the program, as I mentioned earlier. And we are being broadcasted here at lifestyleradio.net, or you can catch us at the Pace Radio Show website, found at pace-online.ca. Tonight's bumper music was by the Hicks. If you enjoyed their songs, I can tell you they got a lot more cannabis-related music, and you can check them out by searching for them on YouTube. That's where I found them. Today on the program, we have our guest, Erin Malougney, and our joint host, Alicia Yashcheshen. Okay, ladies, we're into the last segment here. We've touched on Erin, why she's a medical patient. We've touched on life in Jamaica. Erin, I'd like to sort of go back in time again, and that has to do with, because right now we're hearing a lot in the news about legalization and people smoking cannabis in their condos or in their apartments, rental units, and how some of them are banning the consumption of cannabis in these buildings. You, I believe, are probably licensed under the old program that allowed patients to grow for themselves or have somebody grow for them.
Correct.
I believe you were probably somebody who was leading a charge on something along that line.
Well, it was some time ago, but there was concern when I became a medical grow patient. When I became a medical patient, the options were, as you mentioned, Al, grow your own, have someone grow for you, or back then buy it from one licensed producer. And what happened was I made the decision to take care of myself. And I was lucky enough to be in a position where I had some room and some support with someone helping me build a room, and I grew my own. Well, 2 rooms, and I grew my own. But the building, the condominium issue came up because I was open and honest and admitted that I was growing cannabis, whereas I probably could have said when my rooms were discovered, which were doored completely and nondescript for cannabis, I should have said I was growing orchids or I was into photography, and I had a dark room. But alas, I was honest, which I think is a good policy, and it cost me the fact that I had to prove that the cannabis grow that I was legally allowed to by the federal government have in my home was not interfering with anyone else's quality of life and their health. So, in essence, I had to prove that the grow was clean. The condominium respected me throughout the process because I was a medical patient and protected under the Canadian, sorry, I'm trying to remember the words. It wasn't the Ontario, it was a federal document.
Okay.
Yes, but I was also protected under the Ontario Disabilities Act as well as the Constitution. Not the Constitution, I do apologize. What happened was the condo tried to ask me to stop. They tried to intimidate me by asking for more electricity money with their estimates of what maybe my grow was drawing from the electricity. But when you're in Ontario, you have to remember there are certain laws that apply. And when
provincial stuff.
Yes, and when you do have a non-criminal lawyer, because this was civil, that can at least try and help you out, because it was difficult back then to get anyone to take you seriously if you were growing your own cannabis. And a lot of people can agree with me on that, because people think that you're automatically causing mold. You're automatically causing bad air quality. You're automatically having some kind of electrical fouling with the system that's going to cause great fire and stress to the building, when none of that is true. And what happened was I was growing with the great help of friends, fellow activists, cannabis medical patients, online support, anything I could glean. And I did follow some of the basics, and I kept the place clean. So what happened was when they tested it, it came out to be negative in that regard of anything hazardous. So I had a lot of people come in and test the area at great cost, but what happened was they found out that I was no longer or ever was a threat. Pardon me, I was never a threat. Nor would I be in the future, because they weren't finding any of the readings, finding THC transfer. They did tape lift samples and they did air quality samples. The laws changed dramatically.
So they do air quality samples inside your unit and outside the door of your unit?
They did it a control area. Yes, exactly. They had to do, and it came up negligible. So
yet again, go ahead.
No, with that information, the building had to allow me to continue to grow.
Yes, yeah, which is further proof, yet again, of what the government and people in authority positions keep telling everybody, that growing inside of a house or apartment or a condominium is dangerous. It causes mold. It's a fire risk. It's it's not safe to do that. But yet here you got air quality samples showing that there is no problem. That doesn't exist.
So yeah, no, it's asinine in some ways. Furthermore, people who have had charges laid against a property, if that property has been deemed a grow-op, you're not going to get the same amount of money for it, because they're going to automatically put it in a different category in the sale price, but not for anybody who's medical, just for criminal charges.
Yeah.
Because they automatically assume that it's been done in a way that's caused harm to the infrastructure and might possibly cause harm in the future. But that's not necessarily the case. People often lived there with the plants.
Correct, yeah, like yourself.
And wouldn't want them to be, self-harmed. So.
Yeah. So, Alicia, have you got any questions on that? Being that to you human rights and everything.
Well, I'm not surprised. I was actually just thinking about a situation in which I had where I had a landlord that was bullying me because of the smell of marijuana. And then the rentalsman actually took her side because she lied and said that the place had reeked like marijuana, and it took her like upwards of like 41 days to get rid of the smell.
Ooh.
Oh, really? 41 days.
BS. Yeah, which is complete BS because when I left that place, I had put like an oil burner with some very, very potent essential oils to ensure that there was no smell because they knew she was a heinous weirdo. And that's what she alleged. And that's what she alleged, and because they were reefer madness over there at the Rentalsman, that's what. So, like, I'm not surprised, but that really irritates me that, like, people can have such a aggressive, a means of attacking your, like, dignity and your human rights, basically, by, like, you know, throwing all of these fights at you unnecessarily. But I love the fact that you proved them wrong.
Thank you. It was quietly done. They respected my privacy. No one else in the building like heard about this internal struggle. Really, they had to abide by the law, which was you can't talk about this, and you can't stop her from growing while you're discussing this issue because of the medical need. So even though it was happening, they didn't give me a cease and desist type of thing. It was non-interrupted. So it was quite an interesting thing to go through because you really had to respect the way that was handled. You know, I didn't have great relationships with the manager of the building, but no one else was made aware. And as a matter of fact, if it came up in any kind of accounting discussion, because there were lawyer fees on both sides, they weren't allowed to put in the minutes the unit owner or any details. So that was something I really respected.
Good.
And I wish that happened. It's kind of scary how the system works differently for people, even though it's not supposed to. We're supposed to have equal rights. But exactly. I know of many people who've been in a rental situation where they're evicted because of smell. And there's not even proof. But, you know, this is an unjust system that we have to work on, because when people are going to be allowed to grow their 4 plants per person...
Per residence.
Pardon me, I thought it was the other way. No. When each household is allowed to grow 4 plants, there should not be this fear-mongering at all. These condo boards and these insurance companies that are threatening consumers with lack of service or increase of price because they have 4 plants that aren't going to be causing damage to the infrastructure, the air quality, or the dogs or pets or children around them. I think it's going to be asinine for them to try and implement those types of rules and regulations. It's going to be tough though for some residents, because they're going to come at you if they know that you're doing it perhaps in a smelly or different or bothersome way to anybody in the building.
The fear of the unknown.
It's true, but it's going to kill you. Yeah. It's going to make you stronger.
Okay, let's shift over gears to some of your advocacy work that you've been doing over the years.
Well, that was the years ago, and it's good to know that I'm always active in my support for the craft community, as well, especially the medical community. Years ago, I was involved in a lot of the dispensaries as a consultant and bud tender. Those days, I was a lot of activism in the form of attending the Global Marijuana March, petition signing. I've attended the Global Marijuana March for many years. I found it changed, of course, with the onslaught that people understood the medication side as well as recreation acceptance. And I found myself years ago always trying to help people. So when I was baking, my medical prices were reasonable for those people that needed the medicine, and I found myself really striving to break down the stigma to help people understand the medical benefits. So even strangers meeting in other towns and other places or other times, I'd try and always have something for a sample, as it were. Because when you hear of people that are suffering so badly, and you know that relief is just around the corner, if they accepted the fact that this plant that's been persecuted is really a good thing instead of such a bad thing, it can really change lives.
Now, you mentioned the Global Marijuana March. You're also involved with myself with the Treating Yourself expos, helping at the different trade shows, women's shows, National Home Show and Garden shows.
True. The Treating Yourself Expo was some of the patient-to-patient greatness that we had with people coming together. You were an integral part of that, Al.
Thank you.
And the international reach that it had, because it was such a group, a dedicated and connected group of people that found themselves at wit's end. At that time, we all had to bond together because we were pioneers. People coming together from the United States and Canada to
Europe.
Europe and others to come together and declare that I know what you're going through. I've had this struggle too. I've chosen this medicine that is not accepted. It is criminal, but I'm not a criminal because I'm just trying to help myself and others. And we
now
all
you,
have that.
Now, you did all that volunteering, helping out that way. You also did volunteering at a hospital, I understand.
Correct. At Women's College Hospital, I was a volunteer for several years and found myself learning and dedicating myself to a lot of their projects. Women's College Hospital has gone through a complete renovation, and they still have some of the best care available. They have specific programs, including one of the now utilized worldwide models for dealing with sexual assault, domestic assault. So the SAC program has been in place for a number of years. And Women's College Hospital is a great institution that I love and respect.
Now, how about cannabis related? Did they do anything cannabis related there?
Well, they have, but it's not necessarily as forthcoming as a full research, or like I understand there's some research going on in some of our hospitals here now. However, they did have groundbreaking grand rounds years ago called medical cannabis. Are we going to pot? And this was, again, a number of years ago, but it was interesting to see it presented as a medical alternative and a legitimate form of a medical presentation to doctors and nurses. So they are on the edge there. It has been used in that hospital as a medication, I know, because a lot of doctors are prescribing now.
Yes,
the world has changed so much, whereas we used to have to struggle to convince our doctor to even think about it as an alternative to whatever pain or anxiety or other type of medication they were recommending. And now we have doctors putting it forward as one of the first areas to explore for relief. So it's a great change. Yes. And I hope that it continues and we get the research that we require.
Now, some of your advocacy work, you mentioned, as I said before, the Global Marijuana March. You had a very good friend that was a very good friend of the cannabis community back in 2010, Michelle Rainey.
Yeah.
you were involved in something to honor her as well?
Yes, the Michelle Rainey memory tribute that we put together in Toronto and had a march would bring a lot of people together on a cold October night of October 20th. And we would go and try and show the advocacy that she tried to inspire in us, to try and go out to the regular people and inform them that cannabis is medicine. And if you use it recreational, it's okay too, because it's not going to kill you, and all the other things that we've all learned. But Michelle Rainey was a great advocate and an articulate woman who could break down the fear in everyone, as she was a great person to talk about cannabis. And I wish she was still here with us to help smooth things through and continue educating people about how it's not as dangerous as you think. But she was a great person, and when we would march, we would often come across people who would talk to us, ask us questions, and it was great to have a lot of people with a large amount of knowledge be available just to answer questions and honor her as we went down Toronto streets.
Yes, I remember seeing her speak for one of the first times, and she had Crohn's disease, similar as Alicia and myself. And I saw her speak at a Treating Yourself event, and I thought, geez, she's up there talking about her story about cannabis and how cannabis can help her with her Crohn's disease. I can do that. Yeah, I can do that. You know, listening to her inspired me to be able to do the same thing. And you know, yeah. She was an inspiration to people. Yeah. I don't know, Alicia, if you knew Michelle or knew of Michelle?
I wish I would have had the opportunity to meet her, but I definitely know, like I haven't, but I definitely know of her and of her work. And I think that like it was like a warrior taken too soon, right?
Yeah. I wonder if, I'd never checked. I wonder, you know, we're hearing all this stuff about YouTube taking down a bunch of people's videos. I wonder if there's stuff still.
Because that was one of her greatest. She worked really hard on those spots that she would do. And that's where I learned a lot of the things. I mean, you have books, you had internet, but when I could hear it from someone I trusted that you really have to clean your grow room this way, and this is how you do it, it really helped me get it under my mind and just get it done. She's done it, I can do it too, just like you thought.
Yes.
She was a great educator.
Yes, she was. And she's missed by many. Now, you've been involved in some of those other things around Toronto that go on, like the Women Grow events, different little seminars that pop up out of nowhere.
Yeah, I've tried to just keep up with what is changing and going on. There's advocates now that have taken reign and are doing a great job. I'm really proud of everybody who's kept up the awesome fight, especially for our legal rights coming soon, recreational as well as medical. But some of the things that I'm focusing on now are some of the business sides of things. And they're a difficult thing to talk about for some people, but I'm trying to keep up with all these changes and what could be the possible future. And when we've come up with some of these new regulations, province by province, it's amazing to see the variances. And I wonder what the future will bring. Because I'm in Ontario, I think I mentioned that.
Yeah.
It's not looking too sweet for us.
Well, maybe we'll get a look at those things, a bit of a peek this weekend. You're going to join us at the Lift Expo in Toronto?
Yes, I'm really excited to see all the changes in the landscape that are happening, the new businesses that are coming up, the alliances that are going through. It's a different world than what we're used to from the Treating Yourself days, I have to admit.
Oh, yes.
It's a different vibe, feel, and mission statement. this is business now, and it can be quite daunting to see everybody trying to get their foot space and their foothold and their arm and their leg in so that they can climb up this brand new business mountain, as it were. Right. And you know, it's very, very fast paced, this change. So I can't wait to see what happens next.
I guess. Go ahead.
Well, I just wonder if our normalization of the use of cannabis is going to be a bumpy or a smooth ride. So.
Yeah, interesting times ahead. I guess closest thing to the old TY Expos would be the Karma Cup.
Oh, what a wonderful event that is, with a chance for people to enjoy all the judges' samples if they want to participate in picking the winners of the cup. It's for everyone to enjoy, and then the weekend that it presents itself in Toronto is just really cool, because you know that it's going to be packed with like-minded people that really are into it for their lifestyle and their lifetime. And that gives you a sense of, you know, I know this person even though I don't know this person, because we're on the same page there.
Yeah. We're seeing eye to eye. Alicia, have you got any questions you want to get in here before we run out of time?
So were Michelle's booty hugs as great as they sound?
She always gave
all
the
encompassing,
she always gave the booby hugs. That's right. Yeah.
She had her brand right over her boobs, so why not squish it to you? And I say brand, but, you know, she came up with a great logo slogan of medicinal, you know.
Yeah, we still got the T-shirts.
Yeah, I think
I have one.
Yeah.
But those booby hugs, she gave them with such love, and she respected everybody, and she had a real reach. You know, she could be sitting down with the powers that be, and she could also understand someone who is having a hard time getting their medicine because of financial struggles. And she was a blessing. She was a real star. Yeah.
Okay. All right. It's that time. It's shout out time. We've reached the end of the program. Have you got a shout out you'd like to throw at somebody, person, place, a thing, a website, anything along that line?
Well, I do love my Vegabong, so I'm going to give them another shout out. If you have a chance to go to their website, Vega, VEGA, Bong, BONG.com, they are funny. They are great. And their product's really practical for those of us who still smoke a bong, because I know it's kind of old school. But you guys, do you want to give a shout out again to your shatterizers?
Go ahead, Alicia.
Oh, yes, indeed. I wrote a big thank you to Shatterizer. I take my Shatterizer everywhere I go except for the courthouse, because I don't want them messing with it, because you just never know what those kind of weird sheriffs over there. Sorry?
You don't know what they're going to do with it, do
you? Probably try and thief it anyway.
Use it later that night.
Throw out a big I love you to the Shatterizer and the maker of Shatterizer, because that is the cat's ass of vaping. Changed my life.
There you go. Okay, I'm just going to...
And a shout out to Erin for coming on the show, though. Sorry for cutting you off, Alba.
No problem. You don't mind.
Sweet.
Okay, and talking about Erin, and I mentioned the Lift Expo, you can join Erin, myself, and Al Rapp and the 420 Road Crew this coming Saturday as we go live on location at the Lift Expo in Toronto. Tune in Saturday afternoon, and we will be talking to the vendors at the expo.
Wonderful.
All righty.
Awesome.
Yes. Yeah, I don't know. Alicia, are you going to participate in that? You going to be around Saturday?
I might do some park yoga with my Shatterizer, and so I can give you an update on what Saskatchewan looks like then.
Yeah, okay. Sounds good. And maybe we'll have Matt and Val on that time because they're at the expo, so you can thank them personally.
Yeah,
nice.
sure.
Yes. Okay, alrighty. I will be back next week with Kim Cooper and her special guest. You can find the Pace Radio Show. We're on Facebook. We're on Twitter as @Pace Radio. We're on the web, pace-online.ca. Instagram, Pace Radio Show. Thank yous go to our sponsors, the friendly folks at CC Nexus, with over 2,000 strains, or approximately that many. They got to be Canada's largest cannabis seed wholesaler. They can be found at ccnexus.global. If you're in the Alderville area, they have a retail store available there. Big thank you also to Canadays for allowing Pace a place to educate the public from, and to our producer Al Rapp, that's the man behind the baggie there, and the voice we hear the odd time in our ear. And nobody else hears it but us. Plus, big thank you to you, Erin, for coming on the show. We appreciate you coming on and telling your story.
Thank you.
And as I said, yeah, as we said earlier, when patients share their stories and the experiences they went through, it helps educate other people, and they themselves can help further educate people themselves.
Oh, true.
That's right. And to you, Alicia, thank you for coming on, helping out every other week with no end in sight, keeping you busy. Okay, and you're welcome. And a big thank you to our listeners. We always appreciate you guys turning into the program. Thank you, and good night.
Good night.
Good night.
So what are you doing? Nothing? Why not? Trying to get on this Lifestyle Radio website. Sounds like a cool website. Yeah, it's alright. Oh, wait, I might have it. You might have it.
You're listening to Lifestyle Radio.
The opinions expressed during this show are those of the individual participants and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of their associated organizations or Lifestyle Radio.